quick, I'll kind of give you a breakdown of my story. So it's been almost a year since this journey began. February 2017, I had my third son, my third baby, my little boy, Reagan. And she's going to put a picture because I'm a proud mom. I had to show this to give you a feel. So these are my kiddos, and there's my little heart baby, Reagan, the little one. That's what we call him when this condition happens, and I'll explain a little bit more. He was born February 2017. And we knew that my world was going to change because we were having a, hello, surprise, baby. We had no idea what that journey was actually going to entail. So after I had him in February, a few weeks later, and third baby, I know what's normal after having a baby and what's not. And my body started feeling really weird. I knew something wasn't right, but I didn't really know what, so I went to the doctor and test run, whatever, sent home with postpartum anxiety. Okay, so we continue in that diagnosis thinking that's what's wrong. And I progressively get worse, to a worse that's very scary. 3-hour anxiety attacks. I literally can't walk down the hall. I mean, it's a scary, I don't know what's going on, but I guess I'm just gonna wait it out kind of thing. So for 4 weeks, basically, I was dying at home and no one knew. It was very scary. It felt very hopeless, to say the least. And at the end of that 4 weeks, I finally made it to the ER and diagnosed with PPCM, which is peripartum cardiomyopathy. It is a heart failure caused by pregnancy. Who knew there was such a thing? It's real. Heart failure from pregnancy, no other cause. And by the time I was diagnosed, I was basically at less than 10% heart function. It's called ejection fraction. Less than 10% heart function. Y'all, I was on death's doorstep, literally on death's doorstep. My lungs, liver, and kidneys were all in organ failure. I had fluid and swelling from head to toe. Here's the scary thing. When I later in this journey, a nurse told me, now see, Kyla, here's the thing what you need to watch for when you go home. If you see swelling, it's already too late. So you watch for swelling in your feet first, and it's already too late. That's the problem. I had swelling to my head. That's scary. I had fluid throughout my entire body. Not a good situation. I was basically in cardiac shock, on the verge of not making it, very close to death. So I was care flighted to Lubbock, and I was in cardiac ICU for 10 days. And basically what they were able to do for me was stabilize, get the fluid off, and hope that my heart could do something, could recover, do something, save the organs, get me stable to see what treatment options I had. 10 days in Lubbock, then I was flown by jet. Private jet, pretty cool. My son thinks that's pretty awesome. You had your own private jet? Yeah, let's do it in a better circumstance, but still pretty cool. Still pretty cool. Mommy got to fly in a helicopter and a private jet with my own nurses. Crazy. Private jet to Baylor, Dallas, and I was in 10 days there in cardiac ICU. And again, there, the goal was to stabilize. Pretty much 20 days in cardiac ICU was stabilize. Don't let her get worse. Get the fluid off. Keep the organs from failing. Because if we can't do that, we can't save her. Because nothing else was working. They couldn't work on my heart till these other things were taken care of. And they were barely able to do that. I was stable for those 20 days. Then it became an emergent open heart surgery to have an LVAD placed. And I'll explain what that is in a minute. So for 20 days, they stabilized me enough to make it to surgery. But because in that stabilization, it's so touchy that if you're gonna make it to a surgery, like open heart surgery, your body has to be strong enough to endure it so they don't lose you during surgery and they don't ruin the organs that are already struggling. There's a lot that goes on. So the doctors are having to use a lot of wisdom, and I'm telling you, if I had time, and I don't, miracle after miracle after miracle, how God had the right doctor, the right team going, wait, something's off, even though it doesn't look like it's off. It's off. Look further, look further, look further, and saved my life. And if they had just looked at what their medical told them and not followed God telling them, whether they were Christians or not, God was talking to them. Yeah. And they were like, something's not right. There was one day, it was kind of funny because there was one day, and I even posted, and then I felt silly later. It was like, I posted something like, hey y'all, the doctor came in and he's like so impressed with how well this regime is going. I think we're about to blow him away. And 10 minutes later, he came in and goes, sweetie, something's not right. And I'm going, but you just said everything's looking perfect. He goes, it's too perfect. Something's off. And he was right. And he did a procedure that allowed my heart to stay strong enough to then make it to emergency surgery. I wouldn't have made it past that day had he not had an unction to go, it's too perfect. Wow, God is good. God is good. And so I ended up having to have, like I said, open heart surgery, May 23rd. That's my new rebirth day. I get to have 2 birthdays. Because that day, this surgery saved my life. So they placed an LVAD, and that was really my only chance to live. There wasn't any other medical possibility to help save me. I had to have this surgery. Then I spent 9 days in recovery ICU, and then 8 more days on the rehab floor. That was an exciting day to get finally out of ICU, like, okay, we're finally gonna maybe make it. So we were 8 days in recovery and then discharged. So I was in the hospital a total of 38 days, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it felt like an eternity, especially when it's in ICU and people are coding down the hall and you're just like, this can't be real, that I'm not here. This cannot be happening. I just had a baby, for crying out loud. This is not real, and I'm living it, and it still doesn't feel real. And I know it felt surreal for many of you that were praying for me, going, I'm praying for this, but this cannot be happening. I know my family felt that way too. So then, 5 weeks, we stayed in Dallas. We basically, once we knew we were going to Dallas, moved the family. My mom and dad, rock stars. Honor my mom, she's here. Rock stars. They gave up everything, which my mom does, right? Gave up everything, told their bosses, we're going. I'm not going to be with you. I'm going to go be with my daughter because she has 3 babies that need us. Her husband can't do this alone. We have to go help. And I'm not going to miss being with my girl. And they were amazing. And we wouldn't have made, God took care of that too, because we wouldn't have made it on our own without my mom and dad. Because it was a 3-way rotation, taking care of Kyla and taking care of the kids. In Dallas, away from home. Away from our familiar, our church, everything. But God provided because we had so many friends that from college and high school that lived in Dallas that just rallied behind and took that place of what we had here in Hobbs. And we had it remotely from Hobbs as well, and Lovington. So the cool thing is, though, 5 weeks I got to come home. That's early, and it doesn't make sense. And typically it's 6 to 12 weeks, if not longer, that you stay and do cardiac rehab. And I was actually able to come home at 5 weeks, which was awesome. So we came home in July, and then it was figuring out new normal. So real quick, let me explain. Another thing that was kind of cool, I was discharged from the hospital on the first day of Create last year. I didn't get to be at Create, but man, it was cool that I got to be released and kind of be a part with you guys with Create. But it was a crazy feeling getting to leave the hospital, because I didn't think I was going to ever see the outside of a hospital. I didn't think I was going to make it. And getting out of the hospital and actually driving, well, I didn't drive, riding in the car and seeing the outside and seeing the world, it was a very surreal feeling. I thought I was going to be more sad, but it was actually, because I was scared to leave the hospital because of the care there, and starting life outside of the hospital was going to be a challenge, but it was awesome. So I had to share that with you. So this is, okay, an LVAD is a left ventricle assistive device. I would have never known what that was before this experience. All this terminology that's now part of my everyday language was like a foreign language. But this is basically an example, the same pump, just not the exact one, of what is inside my heart. It's a heart pump, and the top part right here, it's called the cannula. And that is what's actually keeping me alive right now. That part is actually sewed into the base of my heart, and it is pulling the blood out and recirculating it through my body. It's perfusing the organs. It is taking care of me. It is doing the job of my left ventricle so that I'm standing before you right now. Technology is amazing, and God is so good with getting doctors creative. Because if this didn't exist, I would not be standing right here. Outside of a miracle of God just flat restoring my heart, this is keeping me alive right here, this device. The challenge is, though, this device, I think there's no, not yet, not the next slide. So this device is inside my heart. And so as you see all this equipment, you're like, what is going on with her? Well, this is keeping me alive. So this little part, and then I'm going to move on, just because I know you're wondering. People aren't brave enough to ask me, and I just wish they would. They really just kind of look at me like, but you know what's funny? When I left the hospital, all this was in a bag, and I was more self-conscious then. until I found a way to carry it comfortably. And now I don't care anymore because this is keeping me alive and I'm comfortable and I can live. Yeah. So anyway, I wish people would ask me. So this part right here is the controller. And it is actually what is running the whole thing. And it runs down the side and into the side of my abdomen and then up into my heart. And it has to be powered at all times. 24/7. I am always hooked to battery. I'm always hooked to sending. And so during the day, I have my little battery pack, as Pastor likes to call them. I'm finally I fit in a copper junction now. Not really, but we're pretending, right? So this is my gunslinger. Anyway, so these are my batteries, and I have to have those on at all times. But at night, I get to hook up to this machine. Is it on there? Sorry, Sadie. Okay, so the top is my charging station, and the center is the power module where I can hook to an 18-foot cord, and at night they want me sleeping on the wall because that's safer in case the batteries run out, you don't hear them, and then you're without power. So at nighttime I'm on the wall, as we call it, and I can get kind of where I need to be the best I can, but it's keeping me alive. So that is what an LVAD is, and you can imagine that the daily routine is a little different than before. I don't have the same life that I thought I was going to have after I had the baby. But that's okay. I'm learning to adjust to it. You learn to adjust to a new normal. It may not be what you thought it was going to be, but you can find a new normal. And that's what we came home to do. And no joke, it was not easy at first, but we're getting there. So life now is figuring out, taking care of 3 kids, moving on, getting healed, still in heart failure. My heart is still functioning crazy at 10%. But because of this device, the rest of my body is getting what it needs, so I'm able to live at 10% because it's doing the job of my heart. Blows your mind if you think about it. Blows your mind. But I'm still in heart failure. I'm still waiting on my big miracle. Yeah. I have a way to live, he's God, but I'm still waiting on what God's going to do. Yes. And some of you may be asking, okay, so now what? Oh, I wanted to share this too because this is, again, another praise. All my other organs that were in organ failure are that of a normal, healthy person. I know. I was talking about that. I didn't know that until like a month ago. And only because I finally asked, I'm like, so how am I really doing? Like, we've got the heart thing okay because of the LVAD, but am I okay? And she's like, well, everything's normal. I said, normal heart failure or normal healthy person? Because that's a big difference, right? She said, no, normal healthy. I was like ready to run around the house. I was so excited. So, long-term, I either 3 things. 1, we're believing that God's going to totally restore and heal my heart, because that's possible with this condition. 2, heart transplant, or 3, long-term LVAD. And so I can tell you more about that later, but I'll always have people ask, what does this mean, Kyla? So those are the 3 options for long-term. Needless to say, this was a storm. Maybe a hurricane level storm. This was a storm, an unexpected, knock you off your feet, turn your world upside down storm. And this is what I want to say to you, even in the midst of that storm. God gave me this word, hope, and it has been my word to hold on to since all of this began, hope. It was the clearest I have ever heard God before in my life, and I think he knew I needed that clear because of the situation. It felt hopeless. It was scary. But he gave me that word, hope. Not just hope that I would be okay. The biggest thing was hope that he would be with me on the journey. Hope that this wasn't the end. Hope that it was going to get better. Hope that he would never leave me and forsake me. Hope that his promises are yes and amen. I had to stand on that like I've never stood on that before. And you know what? I did not do it alone, and I did not do it in my own strength. I had an army of prayer warriors behind me, helping me stand on that hope. I could not have made it through this alone. I am not standing up here as a miracle by myself. I had so many people behind me, helping me, encouraging me, being the church and the hands and feet of Jesus, walking my family through this journey. Romans 4:18-22, and I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. Even that when there was no reason for hope. How many of you have found yourself in a situation where nothing around you looks hopeful at all? It is despair and desperation. Yet Abraham kept hoping, believing that he would become the father of many nations. And I'm not going to finish the rest of that scripture, but I wanted you to catch that. There was no reason for hope, but he still hoped. We had no reason for hope, But we still hoped because we knew that God was bigger than the situation and that he could and would be doing something. Maybe it wasn't the way we wanted it to go. I prayed my heart out, and I know this community prayed their heart out that I would avoid surgery. I told the doctors, it was funny. I got to Baylor and they're like, oh, sweetie. But they were sweet. I got to Baylor and I'm like, oh, it's okay. Y'all can do all your tests, but you just wait. I'm not going to make it to surgery. I'm going to be healed. And they're going, okay. And the next day they're like, and so on surgery day, okay, yeah. But we still were hopeful that God would answer that prayer, and he didn't. But you know what? That didn't mean he didn't answer a million others. And that didn't mean he didn't do a million other miracles. And if I had time to go through the story, we'd be here all night. Miracle after miracle after miracle. What he did do in this journey. I didn't get the one, but I got so many more. Yes. And I have to remember that. And in your life, you have to remember that too. Okay? So, as I'm talking tonight, I want you to think about your storm. Because all of us have one. You don't have to be going through heart failure to be in a storm. Your storm is your storm, and it's real for you, and it's hard for you. So I want you to put yourself in, when I'm explaining, put it as your storm, not just, this is Kyla telling a story. So what is hope? Hope is a confident expectation. Something to come. You can't have hope for something you already have. You have hope for something to come. Hope is a confident expectation. And I'm going to just do that. Yeah, there we go. We were given this hope when we were saved. If we already have it, we don't need to hope for it. But if we look forward to something we don't have, we must wait patiently and confidently. I'm going to keep going. So from the time that I left the doctor, 4 weeks postpartum, for the next 4 weeks, I was basically left to die. Unintentionally, mind you. It's not on purpose, but I was left to die. I was ignored. I was dismissed for 4 weeks. These people failed me. Stay with me. The medical community failed me for 4 weeks. But then I was diagnosed. And the same people, medical community, saved my life. Yeah. Catch that for your situation. You've been failed. Spouse, family, kids, friends, a church. We've all been failed. People fail us. It's going to happen. But God may use those same people to bring restoration and hope and good. We can't write off the people that failed us and not be able to accept what God wants to do through possibly those same people. Possibly the exact same person. Dang it. Right? Because you want to be mad at that person. But who are we needing to direct our anger at? I'm going to be honest. There are days that this is still very real. I mean, I'm only 8 months post-surgery. It's still very real and a very real battle daily. And there are days that I want to be angry still. And I want to blame those people that failed me. But if I direct my energy there, I'm going to stay defeated. I'm going to be frustrated. I'm going to be in despair. And I am not going to be able to get through that day with any kind of joy and hope. Yeah. And I have days that I fail at that. Yeah. Big time. And I get to the end of the day and go, God, I didn't do very good today with getting this in order. I didn't praise. I didn't look to you and the good you did. I'm frustrated with that. And I'm not able to move forward because I'm stuck at those people failing me. Catch that for your situation. So good. So, real quick, Romans 8:28. I love this. I love this. This became my life verse a few years ago when we went through another small storm. This storm definitely bigger. But oh my goodness, we know that God causes everything to work together for the good. For those who love God and are called according to his purpose. Didn't say God causes everything. It just says that he causes everything to work for the good. Every bad thing that has happened, God can turn it around for the good. Everything that you have had to go through, God can make it a good. But you have to believe that. And that is what I stood on in this journey going, God, if you let me live, boy, the devil's going to wish he'd have left me alone because I don't be quiet. As you notice, I'm going to be worn out later, by the way, from all of this talking. Because I do get excited. I should have warned you. Seriously, though, you need to have that kind of attitude. Devil, you shouldn't have messed with this girl. Because I'm not going to be quiet about what God did despite your plan to destroy me. I'm not going to be quiet. And you know what? You don't have to have a stage for that.
Right. Good.
Your life of I'm going to keep walking forward even though everything else wants me to fall on my face is a testimony to somebody. They are seeing that you are not giving up no matter what. That you are trusting God in the face of hopeless, impossible situations. I should not be standing here today. Time and time again. I could have died. Not in the, could have died. You know, you say that sometimes. No, literally was dying. And I'm here. You're here. You're still standing. You're still moving forward if you choose. Your storm didn't take you out because you're here tonight. You have a chance to take your storm and move forward. And that's up to you. What are you going to do with your storm? You going to let it destroy you? Are you going to stay angry? Are you going to stay hopeless? Or are you going to catch onto that word and say, I may not see the answer. And you know what? I may never see the answer this side of heaven. But God is still good. And he still promises. And I'm going to hold on to those promises. Because he will do something. And he will bring good from my story. He will bring good from what I went through. If I choose to let him.
Yes.
It's really up to us. Because you know what? He's there going, I've already provided. I'm already taking. You have no idea what I've done already. But you need to trust me. You need to trust me. And you need to believe that I can do good and bring good from what the enemy meant for destruction. So how do you let the storm define you? Does it consume you? It's all you talk about? It destroys you? Or does it become a part of you to make you better, but it doesn't define you? I am a PPCM survivor, but that's not all I am. I'm a wife, I'm a mom, I'm a friend, I'm a church member, I'm a leader. I have a lot of things that are about. Now, if you get me talking, I will get on a soapbox and a rampage and a tangent on PPCM because I'm passionate about it. But it's not all of who I am. If you ask me about my kids, I'll do the same thing. Right? This storm is not the defining moment of my whole life. It is a part of me, and it has forever changed me. No doubt about it. Even if I recover and God completely heals me, I am forever changed by what I went through. I have the scars to prove it. I have a reminder, and right now a reminder every day of what I went through and am going through in my life. But it's not all of me. It's a part of me, and it's a part of me that I'm going to choose to bring good and to point to Jesus. Absolutely. And that's our choice. We have to decide what we're going to do. Amen. So, where are you living? In the what ifs? In the whys? Why did this happen? Where was God? Why didn't he? Why did they? What if we hadn't gotten pregnant? Yeah, but I wouldn't have my precious baby. You can't live there. Well, what if I'd been diagnosed earlier? I would have avoided an LVAD. But I'm here with an LVAD. What good does that do? What if I had died? What if there were complications? What if? Why? I can live there and be in despair and frustration and anger and hopelessness. Or I can live in, it is what it is. That's become my new mantra. It is what it is. It is what it is. I don't know how many times I say that now and don't even realize it is what it is. Now, what am I going to do about it? It is what it is. Somebody will ask me, how's your day going or whatever, and I'm like, well, we've had the flu in the house. It is what it is. I get mad and frustrated, or it is what it is, and move on. Right? Oh, sorry, y'all. I'm out of breath. Okay, so I've had this saying, and it's kind of funny how God does things. If you'll notice, if you really start noticing things, how God will already prepare you for something you had no idea you were going to go through. I've had this saying in my house for well over a year before I even had my son. And it is, faith is hope for tomorrow. Sounds so good. I'm like, oh, faith is hope for tomorrow. I didn't really know what that meant, but it sounded cool. And then I was in the shower the other night, and it was before, when I was getting ready for this, and how many of y'all God talks to you in the shower? Like, it's totally like all the time, like, and you can't write anything down in the shower, right? So I'm like, and a shower for me is not real simple anymore, because we have to cover the dressing and make sure, because it can't get wet, because it can't get infected, because an infection is hospital, I mean, it's just not good. So you got to have it covered, and then I've got to get all of this equipment into a waterproof bag, and it's just kind of cumbersome. But I get to take a shower. So, I mean, you do what it is what it is. It is what it is. And so, okay, I lost my train of thought. And so I'm in the shower, and then, I mean, this stuff just starts coming, and I'm like, I can't get out of the shower fast enough to write it down. And it was so good, because that saying has been in my house, and in my house and in front of my mind. But it was like God gave clarification on it. Faith is what gets you through today. Faith is today. Hope is what gets you to tomorrow.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh, I was like, God, that is so good. What? That was crazy. Faith gets you through. We have to have faith to make it through today. But if we're going to make it to tomorrow, we've got to have hope that God's going to be there and give us the faith for today, to hope for tomorrow, to have faith for today, to hope for tomorrow. Did you catch that? That is so good. That is so good. So let me kind of end with this. I've already kind of said it, but I want to bring it about. What are you going to do with your second chance? Maybe yours isn't as severe as you got a second chance to live, but in a sense, you get a second chance to live your life. What are you going to do with that second chance? We cannot control our circumstances. We can't control what other people do. You know what? We live in a fallen world where bad things happen to good people all the time. And you know what? We don't understand why, other than the fact that we live in a fallen world and people have choices. And their choices affect us. Good or bad. It is what it is. What are we going to do with that? We can't control that. We can choose our response. We can choose what we're going to do with what happens to us. Are we going to keep moving forward with God and Him be the one that gives us the strength and we give Him all the glory? Or are we going to let it destroy us? That is our choice, and God's not going to make it for you. We have to muster that inside of ourselves and say, I, with all that I am, God, you're going to have to help me. He will empower you, but He's not going to do it for you. He gave you that choice to choose Him or to choose frustration. And it's a daily battle, y'all. Y'all know that. You wake up some days and you are like, man, it's a funky day. And you're battling all day going, man, I'm in a grumpy mood. And then you try to get better, and then you're in a grumpy, and it is a funky day. That's life, right? We have a choice, though. Are we going to stay there, or are we going to keep moving? And I have this, I'm in this group, a PPCM survivor group on Facebook, because it's kind of rare, so there's not a lot of people that have it. So you need somebody to kind of relate to, right? Like they actually understand what you're even talking about. And then I'm also in an LVAD group, because that's also rare. So then you put PPCM and LVAD, there's like, what, 10 of us? I don't know. So you're kind of an oddball, right? So you feel isolated sometimes. And there's this girl, and precious girl, in one of my groups, and she's also an LVAD, and she's a PPCM, and has been through it. Most of all of the PPCM moms have been through it. Not all have an LVAD. They have a little bit different story. This is an extreme story of this condition. That she on this board, I can't get enough of my survivor shirts. It's like everywhere I go, I'm like, survivor shirt. You know, it's just something I don't know. Maybe it's just something I need for myself to encourage myself. I'm a survivor. And she said, man, can't wait till one day I can buy me a survivor shirt. Broke my heart. Because you know what? In my mind, I'm going, girl, you are still here. You are a survivor. You may not be recovered. I'm not recovered. I'm at 10% ejection fraction. Yeah. I haven't done anything but stayed alive with my heart. It's coming. Yeah. I'm just saying, right now, I am still in full-blown heart failure. Right. Kept alive by a machine in my heart. road ahead to see that. But by golly, I'm a survivor. And I'm going to call myself a survivor. Because that is the mindset I have to have if I'm going to make it. If I feel defeated, like I'm not a survivor, what do I have to fight for? I am a survivor. I've survived this, so I can survive this. And you have to see your situation like that. Maybe it didn't turn out okay, but you survived. And you can continue to survive, but not only survive. I am a survivor, but man, I want to learn to thrive in this season. You know what I'm saying? Not just survive, not get to the end and go, I barely made it. I survived, but I fell over the finish line. And I'm not going to do this because CG might come and spank me. But I want to finish, pretend I'm running, because my mom might also pretend I'm running. I want to come across the finish line with all that I got. Because I didn't just survive, I thrived, pointing people to the goodness and faithfulness of God. In my life. Not, oh, that was so good. No, it was not Kyla, because Kyla in her own strength would have died in the hospital before I even made it to Lubbock. God is the one that did it. And he gets all the glory and all the praise. And any of you may be thinking, Kyla, I couldn't have gone through what you went through. If you had to, you could. Through the grace and the strength of God. What other choice did I have? I either fought for my life or I died. I didn't have a choice. Well, I had a choice. But you know what I'm saying? When you have to be strong, you can be strong. Because you have the author and the finisher of your faith. You have Almighty God on the inside of you, strong enough to create a universe. He can get you through your situation. And we have promise after promise after promise of what he says he will do. And we have to hold on to those. So I encourage you, be a survivor and a thriver. Take your storm and let it be a testimony. Take your storm and let it be an example. Take your storm and let it define you in a good way. Yes. Let your story become your testimony of God's goodness and God's faithfulness. Amen? Amen. I want to share with you a song. We're going to play this as we start the altar call. But she's going to put the words up there. And man, picking songs for... I had so many. I had amazing people sending me scriptures, songs, encouragement. Because, you know, when you're going... Let me just say, when you're going through it, you're going through it. And sometimes, you can't even... I'm going to do it here. I almost went down there and I wouldn't have been able to do that. Sometimes, all I could do, honestly, was lay in a hospital bed. I couldn't get up physically, but spiritually, emotionally, just lay there and go, God, I don't even have the strength or the energy or even the with-itness to feed myself right now. I'm crying out to him all day. God, you got to help me. God, you got to. But I can't feed myself because I'm in a broken, desperate situation. I'm in the eye of a storm. And you need people around you that can speak into you and help feed you when you're in that situation. You need a foundation built before you get into that situation. So anyway, that was, I got off track, sorry. But this was one of the songs that I listened to continually in this process that a friend had sent me, and we're going to play it tonight. But I want you to look at the words before we play it, because I don't want you to miss that part. I love this. Peace be still, you are with me. Peace be still, you are with me. In a storm, imagine. Storm, peace be still, you are with me. In this hope, what hope? That you're with me, I abide. Jesus, be my sustainer. Strengthen me in this trial. And I know, man, this part gets me every time. It's only for a moment. Your season is not forever. It sure feels like it. It is not forever. It's only for a moment. And everything is working for your glory. But today, I need your perfect love to hold me. Safe within your promise. till the storm has passed. It's powerful. When this burden is lifted, when I get to the other side, because I am going to get to the other side eventually, I'll give thanks to your name. Oh, there'll be a praise party then, right? But until it's finished, I'll give praise just the same. Yes. I don't have to wait till I'm in victory to praise. I can do it right now in the eye of the storm, and that's what's going to get you through. Yeah. For we have this hope as an anchor for our soul. Anchor to what? Anchor to God and His promises. Because if you have an anchor, you can't be turned upside down. You are with us, and we will never be alone. Go ahead and stand to your feet. If y'all will put that song on.